What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back in the shop working on the Loadstar again. I'm trying to button up the last few things on the frame, like fabrication wise, before I can paint it, because I keep forgetting things that I need to do before I can paint. So now I'm knocking out the fuel tank straps and the brackets for those and a few other little things. And I figured out what I want to do for the fuel tank straps. So I made one of them, and it's just 16 gauge 4-inch sheet. I just welded it to a 5/8 rod with a little eyelet on there with the bolt, and then the other end is the pin, and then I just folded it over and plug welded it. So I wanted to get one knocked out, figure out how I'm gonna do it, and then now I just gotta knock out the rest of them. I got one more piece of the tubing, or not tubing, the sheet here, and the other ones I'm gonna have to cut it out on the plasma on the piece of sheet metal. So let's get this one all marked up, cut the end, weld it together, and fold it up and weld it, and then we'll have one side complete and I can test fit them on there. Alright, so here's what I'm doing. 5/8 rod just goes through this little eyelet rod end thing. I just cut a little notch, and then that'll go right there. I'm gonna TIG weld it on there, and then that'll leave room for the bolt to pivot. Get the TIG welder hooked up and weld this thing on. Alright, got both the other ones mocked up, or not mocked up, finished up. And I got one of them over here mocked up on the tank. So it's just bolted on down here with a little eyelet bolt. And then we swing it over. And now I gotta make the brackets to mount it to the frame. So I already got the measurements for that. I'm gonna go draw them up on the computer, cut them out on the plasma table, and then we'll get them welded on. And I need 8 of them. Alright, brackets all set up in there. Got the metal in there loaded. Let's get it cut out. Okay, this side's completely done. Gotta weld the brackets on that side, and then I need to build a battery box for that side. Alright, I'm getting a bit of a start here on the battery box. So I just took 2 pieces of angle, bolted it down here to the fuel tank mounts, and now I'm going to build a box to go around the batteries that will just rest on these. And this is 1/4 inch thick angle, so it's super strong. I can stand on it and it's fine. Nothing gonna happen. So I think it'll be fine holding 2 batteries. So I got the measurements for the box. I'm gonna go punch them in on the plasma table, cut it out, and then we'll break a box and get it all together. Alright, here's the first panel cut out. This is going to be the bottom and the sides. I guess either end of it. I gotta bend it up. Let's get around here. And then I gotta cut 2 more for the front and the back. So let's go ahead and get this bent up real quick. See, I went ahead and I cut little notches in it where I need to bend it so I can make sure it's accurate. Do it the same on both sides. I figure I'm already there on the computer, might as well just do it. It's easier than having to mark it out with a pen afterwards. Panel. And that's where it's going to sit, right down there on the truck. Now I just got to build the panels that go across here, and the top's going to be open. Battery's just going to sit inside there, and then I'll weld it down here on the angle iron, and I can kind of figure out where I want it forward and back just to make sure it's going to fit right with the tank. ounces per bottle. Oh, it smells good.
Must work good if it smells good, huh?
Oh, yeah. Shake. Shake for 2 minutes. We'll be here all dang day.
2 minutes later.
Let's see if this bedliner stuff works. To the bottom of the cab of the engine bay. Okay. There's a hole there, so I can't tip it upside down on accident.
That'd be a bummer.
I'm ready to get some paint on this thing so I can start putting it back together for the last time. It's taking me way longer than I want. So let's see if we can get this knocked out today. Well, I came through and got the whole bumper wire wheeled and I welded on the D-rings, but I think it's ready for some primer. So I got some primer. I'm gonna go through and just do all the bare metal stuff. And then after that's dry, we'll give it one good wipe down with the wax and grease remover and then shoot it with some black paint. Alright, I got the whole back half of the truck sprayed down, primer, and sprayed all the front spots that had bare metal. So I'm gonna let that dry for a little while and then we'll get the paint mixed up and we'll get it sprayed. Well, I didn't get a whole lot of that recorded. I got kind of carried away with just painting, but got everything all coated, whole frame, underneath, inside and out. Came out pretty good. Paint's still a little tacky. I painted it yesterday, which I'm surprised it's still as tacky as it is, but I'm just gonna give it time to dry and it should look pretty good. Alright guys, we're back in the shop. I got the frame all painted, the axle painted, leaf springs, and pretty much all of our little brackets. I actually went ahead and scuffed the frame and repainted it with a semi-gloss because I really wasn't a fan of how the gloss came out after I let it dry for a day or two. But this semi-gloss looks way better. It's just the metal has too much texture from being diamond plate. You can kind of see like the ripples in it. That's just because the backside of diamond plate. But the semi-gloss hides it a lot better. and from a distance it looks really good. I mean, 90% of the frame is going to be covered with tanks and stacks and suspension and all that, but I'm already this far. I want it to look good. So frame's all done, it's dry. Axle's painted, it's dry. I just did a little bit of touch up on the leaf springs because there's a few spots I missed. And then I have a bunch of brackets outside drying right now that I just painted. And then I do need to touch up the bumper back here. You can kind of see little shadows of where the rings were because I painted it with the rings up to get the bottom. So I just got to go over that a little bit, but that can come later. So what I'm going to do today, get the leaf springs back on with the brackets and the shackles, and then try to rebolt it to the axle once the little brackets out there dry. Get the axle back in, the wheels back on the front and rear, and then probably bolt on the fuel tank mounts, and then that might be it for this video, and then I'll get started on the next one. But let's get the leaf springs and up in place with the brackets and all that, and we'll go from there. Okay, let's go ahead and throw this bracket on. I gotta put it on the leaf first before I put it in the truck, because there's no hole in the frame for the bolt. That loose. I can still get to it to tighten it, but I just can't get the bolt in. And then this end over here, this end gets the shackle. This way. Those, they can be tightened up later. This is the through bolt. Rear mount. I gotta find the bolts for the front mount. Well, unfortunately I forgot. I need to drill another hole here for the mud flap, and I have to do it with the leaf spring off. So I got it off, kind of just sitting up in there with the 2x4. Kind of sketchy, but it'll work. Let's get the hole drilled, and then we can get that reinstalled and then put the mud flap on. Or I guess we can do mud flap later, but I got to get the hole drilled at least, and then we'll do the wheels and axle and all that. Okay, wheels are on. I think I got the axle centered pretty close, so I can try to lower the truck down on it. Let's take the locks off and see what happens. Go down on the rack and see how close we get on the frame. Just about there. This side popped into place. This side needs to move a little bit. There we go. Alright, axle's back in its place. Locked in on the little detents on both sides. Or I guess the locators. And yeah, I'm just gonna get the U-bolts out, clean them up, and then we'll throw the U-bolts back on, and then bolt the shocks in and the sway bar. Shock mounts back in. Now I'm gonna put the front wheels on and try to roll this thing back and get the fuel tank mounts bolted on, and then maybe roll it outside in the sun so this paint can bake in a little bit better. It's still a little tacky in some spots and it scratches pretty easy, but once it bakes in the sun for a few days, I think it'll be great. Alright, wheels are back on, truck's on the ground. I pulled the tractor over and I'm gonna drag this thing outside. So let's go ahead and stick the camera down, drag it out in the sun so this paint can bake in. Alright guys, I think that's gonna wrap up this video. Just want to get the paint outside so it can dry. Just waiting for a few more things to finish drying. Fuel tank mounts here, and then I'll get those thrown on. I don't need to film that. But yeah, a lot of work this week. Hopefully I can get another video knocked out this weekend so I can have a little bit of a head start on the videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for checking out the channel and the build. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.